Finding all this out really came as a shock to me. We've been together for 14 years, married for 10, and have 2 children, 6 and 4. The last thing I ever expected was to find out she was having an affair or would cheat on me. Strap in for a long one. It started about a year ago. We became friends with a couple who had similar age children as us, lived close, and we all got along really well. We started hanging out, watching each other's kids, going out as a group quite a bit over the coming months. My wife and the husband, as they are the primary caregivers to the children, while I and the other wife work more hours, started to become closer. They clearly had similar personalities and could just talk and get along. I didn't see a lot of this since it all happened when I was away and they were doing mutual kid stuff together. I wasn't too worried about it, though. I trusted my wife. I never had any reason to doubt her. She always had girlfriends throughout our whole relationship. Through the early spring, there were ups and downs for us. She was becoming aware. She was somewhat depressed and started going to counseling. She started working out and eventually losing weight. Shortly after starting counseling, she asked me to go to couples counseling. I thought things were fine, and I kind of said, "I think we're okay, let's see how it goes," and left it at that. She never brought up couples counseling again, and she kept acting like things were good with us. We were still sexually active. Our sex lives throughout our marriage has never been a sore spot, but probably not as active as one would like. We never went more than a month without sex and rarely more than a week. But I always knew she wanted sex more than me. I had insight into this and found myself asking myself, why don't I have any sex drive? Well, this ever get better in and around this time I found 2 vibrators she bought without telling me. She was clearly hiding them, but they went off overnight. One night she woke up to that night. The next day we talked. And my point was just to say, why don't you just talk to me about it? Turns out I was probably depressed, too. With work and stuff. We moved 5 years ago to her hometown where she had some friends, but not close friends anymore. And I had no friends. I have a good job. I'm a physician and make good money, but we also spend a lot of money. So I was constantly worried about money too, and that's on me. Throughout our counseling and working out, the 4 of us started hanging out. More felt great. We finally have friends. I was just happy about it. We started having sex more often and everything felt pretty good in June. We went on a family trip in July, and during the trip my wife told me the other wife discovered her in his text thread on his phone and it greatly upset her. She told me it was a large quantity, but nothing inappropriate. There was one time I said, "I love you," like a joke, but it's all just friendly. I was told she kind of offered to show me the texts, but in a "you don't want to see the text, do you?" kind of way. I had no reason not to trust her at this point, and I was like, "No, that's cool. You have guy friends, no big." When we got back, I started getting anxious. I don't know why. I just started to feel insecure. I noticed the sex toy pouch was moving around. The 2 of them were spending more time together. He had a week off work for the holiday with the kids on summer vacation, and I was working all the time to make up for the trip. As I got more anxious, the texts kept coming up and it turned into, "You can't look at the texts. That's an invasion of my privacy." She bought him a present a week before my birthday. One she had to put together with iron-on patches, and that arrived when I was home. I could feel it to the package and she gave it to him the next day while I was at work. But then I sighed the day after. My point again. Why don't you just tell me about it? I felt like I was going crazy. Why was I so insecure? Why can't I trust her? Why am I constantly checking to find your friends and the Nest cams in the house now? I felt like I was being replaced sexually before with the vibrators. Then, now I felt I was being replaced as a partner, too, and I told her as much. I was a mess. She assured me they are just friends. Nothing is going on. It's just like me and another guy friend. But my Q9 was at the upper limit of moderate. I wasn't sleeping or eating. So I made an appointment with a psychologist and a PCP and got started on meds. I have now been going to the therapist every week since August before my next guy trip in July. I talked to the wife who I work with, but she's not a doctor about the texts. I started to learn more of the details. There was not just one "I love you," but many "good night," "good morning." almost every day, pet names, etc. I was pretty crushed. A week earlier, my wife made out with me in her sleep and said, "I love you," pet name, and then fell back asleep. I was confused. I asked her and she said I was pet name, but after I learned the truth, I clearly wasn't. I talked to my wife about these details the next day. She said she was so depressed, so sad and so upset with how I had been treating her the last few years. She almost left me and he talked her out of it. I talked to him for a while, too. I told him I'm okay with him communicating, but that I love yous and pet names need to stop. They agreed, apologized, and he said he was going to back off, too. A few weeks go by. We were all hanging out and I arrived first. And she doesn't really give me a hug or anything. Then they arrive and I just know she is going to hug him ASAP. And she does. And I lose my mind. Bad on me. I overreacted for sure. I knew I was doing it and I just tried to separate myself to cool off. But she comes and is like, "What the fuck is wrong?" And we have a fight about it. I knew I was in the wrong, but she still came to get it out of me. The next day, the other people decide amongst themselves the best thing for their family is to set a boundary and that the male and female from our two families no longer communicate privately. I didn't love this because I was starting to be good friends with the female, but I agree. And my wife said it's BS, but she'll respect their wishes. A couple more weeks and we were on a family trip. Just us. I oversee that she has been texting him privately and texting a million other people the whole trip. It's really every time she goes to the bathroom or I go, she's on her phone. Eventually, I call her out and I was really furious so much. Her boundaries, I say, was not a good day to have this fight, but it happened. And I meant what I said. I was assured they were no longer communicating privately. 3 weeks later, I get a call. She needs to tell me something. The other wife looked at the phone logs and the two of them no longer texting have now been talking for hours a day. 14 minutes at 4 a.m. on his way to work, 1.5 hours at night, 20 to 40 minutes during lunch. Every day, always. When I'm at work, I leave for overnight at 9, 1.5 hour. Call if I'm home at night. No call, but call at 4 a.m. Literally every day. I was crushed, betrayed. She lied, directly lied. We started going to couples therapy. Finally, she assured me. And the therapist, they had no more communication. It was over, and she was working to rebuild trust. So we as families could be friends again, and the kids could have their friends back. Well, a month goes by, and one morning on the Nest Cam, I saw my wife taking a workout selfie, but with a sexual kind of pose. Later that night, I'm able to get on her computer and find her photo stream and find they have been nearly sexting. No true nudity, but sensual pictures, sexy poses, underwear pics, sensual smiles I have never seen before going back until August. Also, there are a ton of inspirational quotes about finding your second love, not being able to be with the one you love due to outside circumstances, being with someone who loves you for who you are and not what they want you to be. This is crushing to me. I am devastated. I am so betrayed. She told the counselor. They weren't talking. I told the other wife. Me and my wife talked. They were using a secret messaging app since before a trip with a big fight. But there was nothing physical, I was assured. How will this time be different? I asked over the next few days. I can't hurt you again. I can't keep lying to you. I find out that she had told him she wanted to run away with him in 5 years. When kids are older or 20 years, if she has to. I'm told it was just an escape, a fantasy, but nothing physical. 2 days later, he spills the beans to his wife. They have been kissing since August. Since before my hug. Overreaction. They had sex numerous times. At least 2 to 3. It all made sense now. She would go run errands during nights. She knew the wife would be at work and either I would be home or she would hire a sitter and she would go over there. The first night she went over, I had a bad feeling because she turned "find your friends" off and hired a sitter before I got home from work. I asked her the next day and she said no. I went to my friend's house. See, here's this picture I took with her. But this was definitely the first night she went to his house to sleep with him. She made sure to take a picture as an alibi. My wife still didn't tell me about this. We went to couples therapy. She explained the pictures and made a point that nothing physical happened. And then I came out with what I knew. I couldn't hold it anymore. We cried. I was devastated. She was ashamed. However, the next day she went to his work to try and talk to him, to get closure and tell him sorry. He sped away and she followed for a bit, then turned around and called me. But how can I be sure that's what she wanted? How do I know she didn't go to see if there was something left with him, and he wasn't just ignoring her because of what his wife made him do? Now she says she's sorry. She's crushed by what she did too and can't think of anything else. In the meantime, we had another therapy appointment, and we go back tomorrow. We had a long talk about what this means, and I think we both know this is heading for divorce. I'm not ever going to get past this. I don't think I won't be able to trust her again. I can't. Everything I found out because someone else or I discovered it. She told me nothing that someone else didn't already discover through this whole process. I guess I'm looking for some insight into what she might be going through. There's still no transparency. She has changed all her computer and phone iPad passwords. The therapist asked if she would share her passwords and she was like, "No, it's my privacy." And the therapist was like, "You're kidding me. If you want any chance of this to work, you need to be on 100% transparent." But she still isn't. I don't want to have to ask for everything at this point, though. I don't even want to know. And I'm asking how to proceed tomorrow. In the future. The legal stuff I can work out. I've talked to a lawyer, but timing is tough. Do I tell her tomorrow I want to start the process of in-home separation? We have a guest bedroom. Do I separate our accounts? Everything is joint right now, but I make the majority of the money and everything is going to be split 5,050 in the end. So would this just make things acrimonious? Do I continue to just hold until our next couple session in January after the holidays? Update 1. Well, we made it through the holidays. We moved bedrooms, agreed to separate officially and be okay seeing other people if we wanted.